Hey everybody, welcome back. So we've had a busy spring in the field, doing a lot of things, and it's been going crazy, but we're back in the lab with a pen and a pad to tell you guys about some real estate stuff, right? Some investing things. And what happens a lot of times is, we're on the road or we're, talking to friends or whatever, and they'll say, hey, I've got a question for you. And we're like, hey, maybe we have an answer for you. So today we're gonna take one of the questions from these many questions that we get throughout the year and try to get an answer for you. So we're going to take a question from, let's see, Cecily from Pennsylvania. And she asked, what are the actual costs of renovating a home, like doing a flip? What are the costs? What are the hidden costs? What am I missing here? If I think that I can buy a house for this much and sell it for this much with this much renovation, how much am I going to make? That's a very common question. And a very common concern for a lot of people that we're talking to that are just getting into flipping and real estate investing. So today, let's talk about the hidden costs of flipping a home. Some of those things that they might not exactly be hidden, because if you know about them, they're not hidden costs. They're things that are a part of the process. But if you don't know...
You don't know what you don't know.
If you don't know.
Now you know.
Now you'll know.
Okay.
Investor. So let's jump into this. So for example, let's start with a very simple example. I am going to buy a house for $100,000. I found this great deal through a wholesaler or, somebody, a friend of a friend said, hey, I've got a house that I really need to get rid of and I need to sell it for $100,000. And I said, oh, okay, let's take a look at it. We look at everything and we're like, wow, okay. I think we could buy that for $100,000 and sell it for $200,000. And I think we could put maybe $50,000 into the renovations. So that means I'm going to have a $50,000 profit, correct?
So I get this all the time where people will see what a house sold for, what somebody bought it for, and they go, whoa, that person must have made so much money. And sometimes they don't even factor in the renovation. They don't understand how much a renovation might cost or what the house looked like previously. But what I do hear a lot is, well, the same thing that you just mentioned. If you sell it for $200,000 and you only have $150,000 in, that's a $50K profit. That's amazing,
Easy.
right?
Right.
Yeah. But you could be in some trouble if that's how you're going into deals planning with just your renovation and your purchase costs.
Right. So let's just dive into the numbers a little bit about what it looks like for a $100,000 house that you bought with a $50,000 reno. So I'm super happy. I bought this house, ready to make a lot of money. I'm looking at $50,000 profit in maybe 6 or 7 months. But what's going to chip away at that $50,000? What's the first thing?
Yeah, the first thing happens when you buy. It's your buying cost. What does it cost to actually go to a title agent, insurance company, sit down and close, and actually close the thing? Because there's fees associated with that. This is going to vary on your area, but most of the time we see between 1% and 2% for those purchasing costs, depending on your market and if you're actually paying for the closing costs of the seller as well, which is something that we see a lot.
Okay, so at 2% of the 100,000, we're looking at about 2,000, right?
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's also written on the board right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So my 50,000 just dropped down to 48,000, but I'm cool with that. I'm good. 48,000, few months out of my life. Let's go. Let's do this. What else might come up or will come up as you're doing this property?
Well, you also have to think about how you're funding it. The only way that you can get rid of this next cost that we're going to talk about is if you've got the cash money bros in your hand to pay for this. Now, if you do, that's awesome.
Yeah, just make it rain on that project.
Just
make it.
But if you don't, or if you're leveraging your money in other areas, then you will most likely be going to a hard money lender because a lot of the homes that you're going to be renovating cannot be purchased on conventional mortgages. They usually want fast closes. So you usually have to go with a private lender or hard money. These are just typical rates that we have seen. They could be higher, they could be lower. This is totally market and you dependent. But we typically see 2% on points, about $2,000 in lender's fees, and 12% in annualized. This is getting too complicated, isn't it?
It is. Let's break it down for somebody like me. So 2 points, which is what?
So 2 points is going to be 2 points is 3,000, and then if you pay a lender fee 2,000, that's 5,000.
Okay, so.
And then your monthly payments. Right.
Right. So essentially, I'll be paying the lender kind of a mortgage, right?
With hard money lenders, you're paying interest-only payments. And so at 12%, that'd be 1,500 buckaroonies a month.
Okay. So 1,500, and we're going to estimate that this project's going to go. I'm going to say, I think we can do it. Me and my team, my hypothetical team, can do it in 6 months.
Yeah. I think that's good for this project that we're talking about.
Okay. This hypothetical project.
This hypothetical project.
Okay. So 6 months at 1,500 per month. We're looking at how much? Carry the one. 9,000.
9,000, yeah.
Right. So 9,000 right there. Another 5,000 that we were talking about with the lender fees.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
14,000.
14,000. So we were at 48,000, looking good on those profits. Now we're down to 34,000. I can still deal with that. 34,000.
Yeah, no, that's
is
great. That's fantastic.
That's great. If that's what it's gonna take, to get me to the next level, 34,000 in my pocket. Let's go.
But don't forget, you need insurance on the place. You need to pay taxes on the place. You need to have light and water so people can work, get things done. Sometimes there's homeowners fees. I mean, it can vary depending on your property.
So let's say all these utilities, let's give an average number. Maybe they'll come up to what, $500?
Let's just say 7, because I feel like that is a good number.
Okay, so we're gonna say $700. That's a month for these fees, utilities. So at 6 months, we're looking at looks like about another 4,200 out of my pocket. All right. So I was looking at 34,000 in profit, but now after the 4,200, we're looking at about 29, 29,800, 29,800.
Again, that's still good.
It's still good.
I'm happy with that. If you think that you're gonna make 50 and then go down to 30, maybe but I still think that's good.
Right. The Tesla, I took that back already. I'm looking more at a Ford or Honda.
Yeah,
something.
Hondas are reliable.
Yeah, reliable cars. It'll get me there.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so Tesla's gone. We're at the Honda level.
Yeah.
29,800. Let's take that home. All right, sounds good to me. We're all done with this, right?
Except for that we need to sell it. And not only are you paying your attorney and your deed stamps and all these different things when it comes to just closing the property, but most likely you're going to pay an agent to list the property. This is going to be the fastest way you're going to get the property off your books. Unless you get super lucky, you've got a neighbor that says, hey, I want to buy it. We always count on needing to sell through an agent. Because it is definitely the best way to go, unless, you get that random person that comes up and just wants to buy and they're ready to go.
Right. So the agent's fees, those also can fluctuate, right? Depending on basically how many deals you've done with this agent. If they're an investor agent and if you've done like a lot of volume with them, then the rates can go up and down. But they can go anywhere from in the 1% up to 3.5%.
So we like to blanket this and say 8%. Let's just throw 8% on there. Not for your agent's fees, but all your closing fees. Don't get confused.
So at 8%, that's going to be another 16,000 out of my pocket. So this 50,000 that I thought I was taking home has made its way down to 13,800.
What are you buying with that?
I'm probably paying rent until I get another property to do a little better on the next one. So when I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, 13,800. That's not a bad payday, right? But we've been in this for 6 months now. So 6 months of my life have gone by, and we're actually only a little over 2,000 per month.
Yeah.
Oh no! That we've made. So I'm not rolling in the dough, right?
Definitely not rolling in it.
Right. So these are the kind of things that you have to look at when you're looking at a deal or a non-deal. You need to factor these things in beforehand. And when you look at somebody else that's doing a project and you say, oh my God, I can't believe they made this much money on this project because they bought it for this and they sold it for this. They must have made $400,000 on that project. Most of the time, let's just say not yet, hasn't happened for us. So these are things to think about. So when going into a project, what should I expect to make? What's a good profit for that?
Yeah, I mean, this varies. So it's really about your personal goals and what you want out of it. So you have to decide that for yourself. Some investors do the 70% rule, which is 70% of the after repair value minus repairs, and they'll do any flip that fits those numbers because they have that 30% margin in there. They know they can be really safe with. Then you have other investors who say, I don't really care as much about that, but I do care about making $30,000 profit on every single deal that I do.
It really all depends on what you want and what you need out of your projects.
Exactly. And sometimes the time frame too. So if you have something that you know you're going to get in and out of in a couple months, it might be worth taking a little bit of a less profit because your time in it is less. So those are things you have to think about for yourself.
So if I have $50,000 in my pocket, $100,000 in my pocket, if I have no money in my pocket, can I actually flip a home? Can I do a deal? Can this work for me?
Yeah, and that really just depends. So a great way to get into projects with no money out of your pocket is to bring on private lenders. Either they fund the whole thing or they come in with gap funding, which is they come in with the difference between what your hard money lender is going to give you and what you need cash-wise to sustain the project. So
if this is my first deal, I can just go out there and get a private money lender.
You might.
I can.
You might. I mean, it just depends on your network and how good you are at chit-chatting and making things happen. Most of the time, private lenders do want to see that you've got some skin in the game, at least in the beginning. But really, this just depends on your network and your contacts for something like this. You could completely get into a deal with absolutely no money out of your pocket.
So I could get into it with little to no money down, but it really all depends on each deal.
Yes, who you are, who you know.
Okay.
All right, but before we go, let's just talk about all of these costs. You can have a projected budget for all of these things, but a lot of times things don't always go as planned. So one key tip that I personally feel like is really important to send you guys off with is really making sure you understand your rehab costs and how long it's going to take. Because these two things alone can completely crush your profits. Renovation taking way more than you expected or taking way longer, especially at $1,500 a pop a month. If you end up holding that thing for an extra 6 months or a year, and I've heard horror stories about contractors taking a year and a half to finish a project when it should have been 4 months. These are just things that you need to be aware of and make sure that you dial in.
All right. So those are some good tips when you're trying to figure out what a good deal is, how much actually goes into it, and what your profit margin is going to be. So later on, we'll discuss things like building your budget, getting into some of the details of those kind of things as you're trying to figure out what your profit margin is going to be, what it's going to cost to do a project. Those are some of the details that we're not going to get into today, but we'll try to catch up with you on that a little later on.
Yeah.
So thank you guys very much for hanging out with us again. We'll see you guys next time. We'll try to get a little more experience under our belts and talk to you about the do's and don'ts, all the great things, all the bad things that happen.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Good, the bad, the ugly in the real estate investing world. So thank you guys very much. Please like, subscribe, share, do all those things that they say to do on YouTube. We'll talk to you later.